Welcome to another episode of Seeing Them Live, a podcast featuring memorable concert stories from live music fans. Everyone has a concert story, and hopefully, one day, we'll hear yours.
Another cop pulls up with the worst two things you want to see on the side of their SUV, K-9. I thought we were going down. I'm like, if this guy gets out of his car and comes over and starts talking to me, this isn't going to be good.
Today we welcome back Andy, who is making his second appearance on Seeing Them Live. Andy joined us in Season 1, Episode 9, titled The Ticket Stub Master. He is here today to give us an after-show report on the recent Bonnaroo Music Festival held earlier this year in 2025. Andy is a school teacher and an avid live music fan. His live music experiences span many decades. Andy, welcome back to Seeing Them Live.
Thank you, Charles. It's good to be back. Again, glad I made it to be able to tell this story.
Yeah, and we're also joined today by my co-host and producer, Doug Florzak.
Hello, guys.
I thought I'd just give like a brief introduction of what Bonnaroo is. As far as I know, I've never been there, but this has been a few months now, and Andy wanted to come on and tell the story. I would say after the dust settled a bit, but I think in your case, it was after the floodwaters had receded some.
Exactly, Charles. After the water settled, it still didn't settle till I left.
Yeah. So Bonnaroo, it's called Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. It takes place at the 700-acre farm in Manchester, Tennessee called Great Stage Park. And it started in 2002, and it typically starts on the second Thursday in June. Although, Andy, I was reading some places say it starts Wednesday night, but I'm wondering, is that like midnight?
We did get there Wednesday. It started right at midnight. They called it the Electric Campground. The EDM shows start at midnight that Wednesday.
I see. Okay. And there's several venues, stages, etc. on the property. And the attendance, I looked, ranges anywhere from 100,000 people to 70,000 people. I wasn't sure why there was such a huge variance in the attendance. Maybe they don't have good numbers on that, possibly. I don't know. In 2021, the event was canceled due to torrential rainfall from Hurricane Ida, and there is frequent localized flooding, apparently, based on some of these FEMA National Risk Index I was looking at, particular counties around that area. But Andy, you primarily went to Bonnaroo because you wanted to see this band, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They were playing 3 nights there.
They were calling it the residency, Charles. Yeah, 3 days, 3 sets of King Gizzard from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was my main reason to go, or at least entertaining. Again, the whole thing of how we entertained this for about 8 months before we actually pulled the trigger on our tickets is part of the crazy part of it. But yes, they were the main choice. And then I saw the bunch of my other jam bands. Goose was playing, Dogs in a Pile, and a bunch of the other bands I'd love to see. So it really entertained me this year.
Well, outside of the cost of getting tickets for the whole time, you had about a 9-hour drive as well from where you live. So it wasn't like a trivial drive.
No, it was a huge commitment. It was one we entertained. And again, me and my buddy Ted that went with me, we flaunted with this with a couple of our other friends that we meet up and had coffee with every day before we'd go have our classes and stuff. And we'd sit there and go, yeah, we're going to try and go to Bonnaroo. And our buddy Mike goes, I'll bet you $50 each you aren't going. And that's when me and Teddy just started really going, okay, we could prove Mike wrong and have a great time. And that's how the whole thing started spinning. And my other part was that my buddy Ted, that I've been teaching with him for over a decade now, he was 625 pounds.
Okay.
And he decided a lifestyle change about a year and a half ago and lost over 225 pounds when we went. He never got to go to any festival in his life. He's always been too big and everything. And so I said, Teddy, if you keep doing this and keep going down, let's try to get to Bonnaroo. Again, he was going for whole other reasons. He doesn't really like any of the bands that we would laugh about, but he's like, oh, I'd love to go. And he picked out all these other acts that I barely heard of that he wanted to go see. And that's how the whole thing started in its own way.
Okay, so yeah, Andy, why don't you start at the beginning on mile 1, so to speak?
Yeah, so we're teachers up here in southern suburbs in northern Illinois. Got loaded up our car the night before on Tuesday. Again, this was great because we had the whole week to try and get there, and we decided we were going to get there a whole day early on Wednesday and everything else. So we loaded up Teddy's Ford Escape and packed it to the gills. We had everything. When we had about $2,000 worth of camping stuff, we had a portable solar generator. We had the 42-inch TV. We had 2 canopies, 3 tents. Again, food for 2 weeks. And we really planned for this hard. And we had this thing stacked up to the gills. And on the top of it, we had my 100-quart cooler with the blue tarp from the Home Depot up there. We had it packed. So we decided we're going to go all the way down I-57, and it was like 2 roads. It was so easy. I don't even want to go through Indiana. We're going through Illinois just for the extra time and just not to deal with the hassle of going through Indiana. But sure enough, we're having a good smooth trip, and my buddy Teddy, he's driving, he's going cruise control on 74 the whole way. He goes, we're not going to get in trouble, even though we only had stuff for medicinal uses only, but certain states still don't allow that. So we sure enough make it into Trigg County, Kentucky. And we go by a state trooper. I see one way up there. I go, hey, Teddy, you got to slow down. He goes, Andy, we're going 74. He goes, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Well, sure enough, we passed the guy. I look at him. He's looking at me. I go, oh, this isn't going to be good. And honestly, we get about 3/4 mile down the road, and I see him pull out. And so sure enough, he comes up to us. He pulls behind us. He's behind us for about 2 minutes. I go, he's running us. I go, Teddy, how's your record? He goes, Andy, I've never even been pulled over before. And I go, how old are you? He goes, 36. I go, man, that's pretty good. So I honestly calmed down a little. Then the guy pulls up and looks right at us while he's over in the left lane and pulls back into our blind spot. I go, Ted, what the heck's going on? Don't worry, Andy, you're paranoid. I go, yeah, you're right. He pulls right behind us and puts the lights on, and I'm going, oh, man, let's see what happened. And he comes up, and I'm Sheriff O from Trigg County, Kentucky. Where are you boys from? And Teddy goes, I'm from Indiana, and Andy's from Illinois. And he goes, where are you guys going? That music festival in Tennessee?
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm sure they see a lot of people.
And this guy honestly looks about 26 years old with the bad little pencil mustache, man, and he's just looking us over and goes, you got this thing pretty tight. And Teddy's like, yeah, we're going camping there and everything. And he goes, all right. He goes, you boys, we're going 74 and a 70. If you guys come back clean, I'm going to let you go. But if you got some stuff, we might have some searching. I'm like, oh my God. And in the meantime, I'm seeing if Kentucky's medicinal at all or anything to see if I can try to get out of this. So then next, Teddy's looking for his insurance, but of course his insurance is on his phone. We're in Trigg County, Kentucky in the hills, and his phone isn't coming up with his insurance card. So then the sheriff goes, okay, when you get it up, come back to me and we'll talk. In the meantime, another cop pulls up with the worst 2 things you want to see on the side of their SUV, K-9. I thought we were going down. I'm like, if this guy gets out of his car and comes over and starts talking to me, this isn't going to be good. He just sits there, and then I look in the mirror, and I look out, and I go, oh, man, this guy doesn't even look like the other guy. This guy looks like he's straight out of American Sniper. Big German Shepherd, full sleeve tattoo, big beard looking like Jake Arrieta from the Cubs, and his hat on backwards. Luckily, Teddy's talking to him, and one of the classes Teddy does is law and civics. So while they're talking to him, he's like, okay, you guys, you came up clean. I'm going to walk your license back. And then the other cop goes, you mind if my dog practices on your car and sees if you guys are okay or not? He goes, no, we're far enough behind schedule. We got to get to the music festival. And the guy goes, oh, you're going to the music festival?
Oh boy.
But luckily, we got out of there. Again, it was a 20-minute stop. Honestly, it was so unnecessary. But again, it's so much better that we were getting there. That's what we were talking about on the way there. It's a 9-hour drive, like you were saying, Charles. And we finally pulled up right at about 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, or at night at dusk. And as you were saying, it is so humid and wet down there that I couldn't believe it when we got out of the car and had it searched so we could get in. It was just, you're like, oh, you're already dripping and we haven't even started setting up camp. So then we go in, we set up camp, had a good time. And I start noticing that, I hate to admit my age, I just turned 60 and I'm looking around. I go, everybody in our campground is at least 20 or 30 years younger than me. And I'm like, wow, this is good. It's just a little different. And so we set up camp, we're sweating buckets, but then we set up our stuff. Again, we had a 42-inch TV. We had our big electric generator with the solar power. So we had a nice camp and everything set up. We set up in about 4 or 5 hours. And you met some of the neighbors and they started asking the questions. Hey, you guys work for anybody or you looking for anything? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, you're a little old to be around here, man. You aren't a cop or anything. I'm like, oh man, this is starting already. And they were all nice after they got to know us, and we gave them some food and everything. But again, the whole crowd was way younger than I ever thought it was gonna be. Because honestly, the average age was probably 25, it seems, at least in the campground we were at.
Hmm.
And yeah, so then we're chilling out. We were watching TV and everything, and then the kids started really going. You could tell things. Next thing you know, hey, you guys going over to the electric campground tonight? It starts at midnight. And this thing it was probably a half a mile away, but it felt like it was in the tent next to you. It was good and bad in its own way. It was on Wednesday night and it lasted all the way till about 4 in the morning. And I just remember the Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams Are Made of These, going on for about 20 minutes, shaking my tent at about 3:15 in the morning. And I'm going, man, I'm feeling a little old. It was just starting to sink in on this aspect. And then we woke up and everything was good and we were feeling good. The weather was so moist that again, up here in Illinois, you think about a summer, but this was just, you woke up and you had to film a sweat on you.
Mm.
And so, we started having breakfast. That's when we really met our neighbors and everybody was really nice. And again, the vibe at Bonnaroo was honestly one of the coolest vibes I've had at going to a big festival. And that's what they all talked about the whole time. Happy Roo. Hey, have a good Roo. And it was so positive. It was a really good vibe, even when things went bad. It was a way better vibe than I thought it was going to be, especially with the kids treating me really well when things went bad later in the next couple days. Then we started getting ready for the music because that was the reason we went, was to see the music, at least I was. And we started going around and walking up to the main gate and seeing what was going on, just doing our footwork and seeing what was checking around. And then we went back and then started seeing all the kids just starting to get dressed up. It was crazy. Again, the clothes the kids wear and lack thereof is unbelievable. And I was watching these girls getting ready for 3 or 4 hours in their tents to sit there and hardly wear anything and go to these shows. It was something I'd never seen, me being a deadhead and everything. I go to a lot of shows, but this was way more glammy than I ever thought it was going to be. We were calling it sort of the cowboy Coachella, where it was Southern Coachella, where there was a lot of glam going on for what I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
And then got our stuff ready and we walked. It was about a mile walk unless you caught the tram, which you had to wait for about a half hour usually for that. And so we walked and just walking in with the vibe. It was a really good thing. Luke Combs was one of the main guys, I think, that night. Everybody was ready for the opening night. And we went in, and one thing I noticed, it wasn't that crowded when we got in. We got in like 5, 6 o'clock, and really there was probably only 20,000 people there. But it started crowding up, and then I went to go see Lemon Twigs over in one of the side stages, and there was about 6 or 7 stages on this 700-acre farm. It was just huge, and it took you a good 15, 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other, keeping at a clip. And the sound didn't really go over each other's stage. They had its time pretty well where the stage next to it wasn't playing when the one that was adjacent was playing. It was enjoyable that way. So again, I just started chilling and my buddy went on his way and I went to mine and I went to the Lemon Twigs. And then after that, right next to it was one of my big first experiences. Charles was with the electric dance music. And I saw these brothers, the Parisi, over on the stage, and it really blew me away. It was really cool. It was about 10,000 people hopping up and down, and they had a really good set. It was cool, and it really surprised me, and that was what I was hoping to see some more of the next couple days.
Yeah.
And that was really good. And then after that, I went to my stage where the Lemon Twigs was, and I saw Dogs in a Pile, which was a fantastic young jam band from Boston. And it was great. I got under a fan. It was a great vibe. I had a fantastic time sitting there, met some really cool people from Louisiana there. And then after that, I went over and saw Luke Combs, I believe, was playing at that point. And
Okay.
I'm not a huge country guy, but it was really, really good. I didn't get as close as I'd love to, but it was great because Marcus King came out and played with him on a song. And then Miranda Lambert came out and did a song with him. And he had a really good, strong set. I was surprised. And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. I had a really good vibe going on. And then I was going to go back to the campsite and meet my buddy Teddy. to go back see the Insane Clown Posse. That was the late night show that we were going to try to catch. But that's sort of where the wheels started falling off.
Mm.
Hi, this is Doug, producer of Seeing Them Live. We're going to take a short break from this episode to hear from some of our friends.
Hey everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike
with the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, coming to you from the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in Joliet, Illinois.
where once a week we are interviewing local musicians and singer-songwriters, and the podcast itself covers a wide range of topics, including, but not limited to, the history of rock and roll in Chicago, the current state of the scene, and the challenges and opportunities facing musicians today.
So join us every Tuesday for a new exciting episode of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Hi, I'm Jessica Ann Katina. I've always loved music and surround myself with it every day. I've sung in choirs, took digital musical classes in college, and used to work in radio. To further share my knowledge and experience with others, I created this podcast, Music Notes with Jess, in 2019. I'm so fortunate of the listener growth and hearing back from some of the celebs I discussed in past episodes. That's why now I'm ready to expand. So let's have fun taking weekly music notes of throwbacks, modern hits, and media. Thank you. Talk to you soon on Music Notes with Jess.
What was the last really great rock and roll book you read? How about a good rock and roll documentary? Well, that's why I started the Rock Talk Studio podcast, the place to go for recommendations of new rock and roll books and documentaries. Give me 20 minutes and the Rock Talk Studio podcast will get you caught up on the world of rock and roll books and docs from every possible angle and leave you with a no-doubt decision on where to spend your time and money. Want to know what to read next or which film to add to your watch list? Well, here comes all the top recommendations and hidden gems you don't want to miss. I'm your host, Big Rick. Join me for an exclusive look into what's hitting the shelves and the screens and get ready to rock your reading and viewing list. The Rock Talk Studio podcast, your ultimate guide to discovering the best new rock and roll books and documentaries.
Hi, this is Jamie James on Seeing Them Live. We all have our first concert stories, so please share them. We'd love to hear yours.
Now, back to the show.
So I went back and I was going to try and catch the tram, but I got lost. But I went by this tent my buddy Teddy was going to go to, was called the Yes Tent. So I go by and the place is going crazy. I'm like, what the heck is going on in here? And I see this cop with his vest on and everything, and all the cops are really cool. And I go, hey, what's going on in there? He goes, what's not going on in there? I go, well, I think my buddy's in there. He goes, I don't know. You going to look in there? I go, should I? He goes, it's up to you. And I look around, there's like 500 people in there. I come back out. The cop goes, you see your friend? I go, no, I saw too much. I'm out of here. And we were laughing. And again, it was one of those areas where there's everything for everybody at Bonnaroo, which was, again, a really good vibe. And so I walk back and I go to get back to the camp. And I'm just having a beer, chilling. I'm thinking I'm getting ready to go to the Insane Clown Posse. And I hear my buddy Teddy moaning in the freaking tent. I go, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm having issues, dude. I'm having some real problems. I go, what are you talking about? I don't know. I'm having problems. And I'm like, oh, boy. So I'm like, oh, all right. He goes, you going to the posse? I go, no. I'm going to sit here. And I go, I don't want you dying on my shift. He goes, oh, okay, thanks. I got to see how I do. Next thing you know, wake up at 5 o'clock and he's packing up half his camp. I go, hey, Teddy, what are you doing? He goes, dude, I got a medical emergency, man. I got some issues. I got to get home. I got to do some stuff. Knowing Teddy, I go, after all his issues, I go, Teddy, what are you talking about, man? I go, we got all this invested. He goes, I got to go home. He goes, I'll come back and get you on Monday. I go, Monday? What are you talking? He goes, oh, man, I'm serious. I'll come. I'll promise you I'll come and get you. I go, here, come and get me Sunday. I'll give up a show at King Gizzard if you come Sunday, and then we'll beat all the traffic and get out of here, no problem. And he goes, oh, all right. You good for that? And he goes, I'll leave you my generator. I'll leave you all the good stuff, all the food and everything else. I go, yeah, I can make it. I go, I'm doing this for rock and roll. There ain't no way I'm going to be at Bonnaroo and go home. He's like, oh, okay. And so next thing you know, he leaves the camp and the kids are like, hey, what's happening? Where's your buddy Teddy going? I go, he's leaving me here for 3 days. And they go, what do you mean? You don't have a car? I go, no. They're like, oh my. And I'm like, okay. I go, I'm here for King Gizzard. I want 3 days of the Gizzard. I want to see some jam bands. And they're like, oh, okay. But then come about noon, rain starts. Everybody starts talking about the rain and the clouds are coming in. And you're like, oh man. Campers, please get in your cars. Hail and lightning and strong winds are about 2 miles away. Please secure your tents and get in your cars. And I'm like looking, I go, I don't have a car. And the girls next to me go, man, you could come in ours, but we don't have enough room. Again, there was a bunch of good kids from Virginia across our way. And he goes, Pops, you gonna be okay? And I go, no, I'm holding the 2 canopies, holding it when the wind's just starting to really go. And I'm like, no, man. I go, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. And he goes, okay, if you need anything, man, give me a yell. And I'm like, it was just unbelievable how the hail came down and the rain. And I thought it was like 4 or 5 inches of rain. Later, I checked, it was only 3. But in about 3 hours, it was just torrential. And we're just getting drenched. Again, I was just wet down to nothing. And at this point, I believe my wife calls. What are you doing, Andy? I go, it's storming. She goes, I know. I'm looking at the radar. It's horrible. What are you doing? I go, well, Teddy left. She goes, what? Teddy left? Yeah. I go, Teddy's gone. I don't have a ride or anything. I'm sitting here and I'm holding the canopies down in the rain. And she goes, what are you talking about? I go, he got sick and he had to go home. And she goes, you didn't go with him? I go, no, I had to stay here for like music. I go, there's no way I'm going to go home. So again, I'm talking to her while my canopy honestly rips open and pouring water on all sorts of stuff. But luckily I got all my good stuff in the tent, my waterproof real tent. That was the reason I survived okay. After the 3rd alarm of where they sit there and told you to get in your car, and it was just torrential, you thought Moses was coming down with the lightning bolt. It lets up and the sun starts coming through and it's about 5 o'clock. And I start looking around and I go, man, I'm going to go over to the washroom, see what's going on over there. Because the road was getting a little muddy even before the rain. At this point, honestly, the mud was ankle deep going into the bathrooms, which are really nice. I was surprised how nice they were. They were trailers with water on them and everything else, with a big bladder in the middle that held a couple thousand gallons. But it was all filled, and the whole thing is just turning into a big mud pit. And it was wild. And I'm like, this is not good. And at this point, I just walked out. I went to the bathroom, walked out. And unbeknownst to me, I see a sucker truck trying to pull in, and it gets stuck in the mud. And I really didn't think about it till later when everything else went down, that the sucker truck got stuck in the mud and couldn't get out. And they had to end up towing it out and not getting any of the stuff out of the porta toilets.
I see. Huh.
So the vibe is getting good. Everybody's getting ready for the show again. It's about 5 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk to the front. I changed up, put all my dry clothes on, put my waterproof boots on, said, I'm going to the front gate and seeing what's going on. And I walked, and everybody, again, it was a pretty good vibe. And everybody's sitting there with their text alerts of what was shaking and what's going on. And while I'm up there, I got up to the rainbow entrance and everything felt really good. And people were starting to talk, oh, Foster the People's coming on at 7 at the main stage. King Gizzard's coming on at 7:30. People were getting ramped up. At one point, I see people just complaining with their little kids. I can't believe they're sitting there putting this off. And I'm like, lady, we're lucky we're surviving in the campgrounds. It's ankle deep in some places. And this lady obviously had a nice camper or something because she had some little kids. One of them wanted to see Foster the People and something else. So we're sitting there. All the vibe is good. But honestly, some security start coming to the gates and some ticket scanners are coming. At that point, at about 6:15, they canceled the whole show. I have never seen more disappointed people in my life. The vibe was just, it was like someone kicked everybody right in the nuts. Everybody fell apart. And honestly, there's kids crying. The lady's telling her husband to call her lawyer. They have to sue. But then right after that, we got another text that said, you're going to be getting your money back. We had to do it because the infrastructure of the farm failed. And at that point, I go and I thought of the crapper truck getting stuck. I go, that's the problem. Our whole campground's closed because there's no way they're going to get anything in and out of there for a while. And I just thought of the lawyers seeing some of that. And I go, this all makes sense now. And so I sit there and did the 20-minute hoof back to the campground with all the people, just really feeling a bad, weird buzz. And then at some point, my wife calls and goes, hey, I heard it was just canceled. How are you getting home? I've been thinking about that. So I called Teddy's house and left a message and told them, hey, then I called a couple of my other buddies. Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, I'll come and get you. I go, you've had too many already. There ain't no way you're driving 9 hours to come and get me. And then I'm like, honestly, they wanted you out. They canceled it at 6 and they wanted you out by noon the next day. And I'm like, I got to get people moving just to be able to get me. Then I talked to somebody. They're like, we ain't going to kick you out if you got someone coming. We know you are here. Everybody was really abiding because my wife's like, just blow everything off and take an Uber to Nashville and we'll hang out there for the weekend. And I'm like, I got $2,000 worth of camping stuff. There ain't no way I'm letting all this stuff off. I go, I'm throwing away too much as it was. It just got ruined. So finally, I'm sitting there and I'm talking with all the neighbors too. They're all, hey, Andy, how are you getting home? I go, I'm not sure yet. But then they're like, hey, Pops, I'll take you back to Virginia if you want to come party with us. No, I'm not going to Virginia. I go, I need to get back to Illinois. And then the girls that were next to us were from Frankfort, which is close to us all down here in the south suburb of Chicago. But they were packed up and you're like, I can't go with any of you guys. There's no way. But again, the vibe and people were the best thing of the whole deal. Everybody was so nice, everybody from all these different places. I had some neighbors from Florida right next to me that, again, they were so nice and they're giving me this stuff. And they're like, hey, if you need anything, man, you got to call us. So we'll turn around and come back for you. Teddy finally calls me back. He goes, what happened? I go, they canceled the show. I go, it was a torrential downpour for 3 hours. Camp got washed out. I go, you got to come and get me. He goes, well, I'm not feeling too good. I go, dude, you got to come and get me. And he goes, all right, let me talk to my brother. Hopefully we'll leave in a half hour. And this is midnight. And at this point, the kids, there's an EDM concert going back out in the woods again. It was so funny because I go, no, this doesn't stop. It's flooded. It's everything else. But again, there's good vibes. These kids are still dancing in the woods. It was so funny. And they're like, hey, Andy, you coming to the woods? I go, no, I'm just making sure I get picked up in the morning. Luckily, I just sat there and hung out, honestly, the whole night and listened to EDM and hanging out at my campsite till Teddy and his brother came and picked me up at 8:30 in the morning. Sat there, dragged half my stuff over to the garbage heap, put the other half in, and tried to make it home and drove about 3 hours to the Buc-ee's over in Smith Grove, Kentucky. And instead of buying me a King Gizzard shirt, I got me a Buc-ee's shirt, Charles.
No, nice.
It was honestly one of those mockery of life. I go from getting the King Gizzard Bonnaroo limited edition shirt to a Buc-ee's shirt from Smith Grove, Kentucky.
And as you drove through Kentucky, you guys were doing 70 miles an hour, I would imagine.
Oh, Teddy didn't go over 69. Sheriff warned us. You better not be going over 69. I don't want to hear none of my buddies pulling you over. I go, is this guy? I honestly didn't think he was real for a while. I'm like, this guy is so cliche. I don't want you guys going. I'm like, dude, we were going 74 in a 70.
Come on, man.
Charles, it was crazy. It was nuts, but I don't know. So that was my Bonnaroo adventure in a nutshell. Again, my wife says I'm not allowed to go to any big festivals anymore.
Oh, man. So, Andy, when they canceled it, they didn't just cancel like the next day. They just flat out canceled the whole thing.
Yeah, again, that's what people were complaining about too, is that they wanted, why didn't they just cancel the day and do it? Again, the infrastructure was so messed up. The mud was so thick. And there was, again, at midnight after they told everybody to leave, people were leaving. I don't know where they were driving to at midnight, leaving Bonnaroo, but there was hundreds of cars leaving. And I saw at least 25 cars get stuck in the mud, 3 or 4 inches deep, just spinning. And about 10 hippies would just sit there and be pushing them out for like an hour or two. It was so cool. The only time I saw a tow truck was to tow the sucker truck out. That was the only time I ever saw a tow truck. Otherwise, all the hippies and the Bonnaroovians were pushing everybody out. It was really cool. Because if it wasn't for them, it would have been horrible. But there was people pushing people out all night. So it was nice.
Yeah, from what I was reading, they kind of a history of this flooding and just the area in general. When Bonnaroo's not going on, there's a couple of significant floods a year. Since 2002, you think they'd have this infrastructure dialed in by now with some way to get rid of the water.
Charles, that's what I thought too. Our friend TK asked, it's supposed to rain. I go, they've been having this for 25 years. It's even more up to date than ever. I jinxed myself when I said that.
Yeah, it was hugely disappointing. So you got a refund, you said?
At first, the original text at the venue, they said we were getting 3/4 of it back. But I ended up, after a week or two, they said we're getting it all back, which I thought was really noble of them. And I got my $534 back and our camping back, and I had a great time in the weirdest way. Again, I call it sort of rock and roll fortitude because all I kept thinking in my head, all I wanted to see was King Gizzard and Goose that night. And that's what I was thinking when I was holding it down, when I swear we were going to blow away and then you just saw canopies flying around. I'm like, oh, just let us stay so we can hear some music tonight.
Well, yeah, and you're out in this field, and if you don't have a car, you're in a lot of danger. At least, like, I know Lollapalooza, when that happens, you're in the middle of downtown Chicago, so duck into a Dunkin' Donuts or something until the storm passes, the rain goes. But yeah, out there, man, but they just assume, I guess, everybody has a car, right?
Again, you don't think that's going to happen. I'm like, hey, this sounds like a wild adventure, man. I go, never did I think I was going to be left here in Tennessee without a car 9 hours from my house with nothing but a bunch of camping supplies and not knowing anybody. I knew no one else down there.
Yeah.
But again, it was a great scene. Everybody was cool. Again, I keep wanting and telling my wife I want to go again, but in a nice RV. You aren't going. I go, come on.
Yeah, where do they park the RVs?
It's in a whole nother area. And again, the whole thing is Bonnaroo's not cheap. You had to pay $500 and something for the cheapest ticket. And the camping was another $200, I think. And if you had the RV, it was like $800-900. And then besides renting your RV for another couple grand or what, it starts getting to be a $3,000 to $5,000 ordeal.
Yeah.
But again, I would entertain it if I had the right thing. The lineups are unbelievable. When you looked at the music, it was power packed. It was a well-run thing. Even with the problem, I think they made the right call, especially as a business. You don't want everybody getting sick on day 3 because everything's gone wrong in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see, because Bonnaroo, I've done 3 or 4 questionnaires since the show about what you thought, about how you could make it better. Could they move the dates? And they seem very involved and, always asking your opinion, which, again, I've been to some festivals, but nothing this interactive where you could see how it's got its traction over all these years.
Any advice for anybody going to Bonnaroo who's never been there before?
Just go prepared. Again, be ready for a good time and be with good people, but be prepared.
Yeah, and keep your car.
Yeah, go with somebody that's healthy. But hindsight, again, I wouldn't have gone if Petty didn't want to go. And the whole thing was such a wild thing of taking 9 months to manifest itself. It was just a really wild rock and roll experience that I've gone through. It was interesting. That's for sure, Charles.
That's a cool story. And thanks for sharing that with us.
I'm glad I could share it. Again, the hindsight, I wouldn't trade it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And next time, like you're saying, if you do go, you'll be that much more prepared for something like that.
It was an interesting experience. And again, it's what rock and roll should be about. Just experiencing good people with live music and, having it all intertwined together.
All right. Well, anything you'd like to add, Andy, before we let you go here?
No, just really enjoy your podcast, Charles. Just keep it up.
Thanks. Doug, did you have anything in closing?
No, I thought that was a very good story.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Hey, again, it's always better at the bar with a couple beers.
Maybe you and Doug could go next year, Andy.
Based on what you said, I don't think so.
Yeah, come on, Doug. Maybe Heart's playing on the back end of the tour.
You scared me straight.
You sound like my wife.
All right, Andy. Well, thanks again for coming on Seeing Them Live.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed the show.
That's a wrap for our show. I want to thank today's guests for sharing their concert stories with us. Make sure to check out our show notes at seeingthemlive.com for links to websites, photos, and other artifacts mentioned in the show. I also want to thank my producer, Doug Florzak. The theme music for the show was composed by Doug and is featured on his album, Flagstone. If you have a concert story you'd like to share on our podcast, please visit our website and click on Become a Guest in the main menu. Then fill out the form and click the Submit button. If you seem like a good fit for the show, we'll contact you via email. I guess it's time to head for the exits. We'll see you next time on Seeing Them Live.